Good afternoon, everyone. So, nandito ako ngayon sa inyo sa harap ng inyong mga screen para panoorin ang aking comprehensive exercise on the full accounting cycle with emphasis sa completion part or doon sa closing entries and then the reversing entries. O ngayon, supposedly meron akong Zoom na ibibigay. Unfortunately, baka hindi ako maging available, kaya ni-record ko na lang ito. Although medyo napaganda, kasi kung mapapansin ninyo, fully loaded. Usually, kung halimbawa, Zoom ko ito ginawa, although mag-share screen ako, makikita ninyo from time to time, pero dito, full pack na, magkakasama ng lahat. Nandito sa kanan ko at nandito sa baba yung problem at sa pinakakanan naman, yung aking Excel file kung saan ko ilalagay yung sagot, no? Kasi dito gagawa tayo ng isang complete na worksheet. Now guys, when we are talking of a worksheet, hindi ito financial statement. This is just a working file, working paper na ginagamit ng mga accountants para mapadali, para ma-summarize nila yung mga information na kinakailangan nila when preparing the financial statements. Okay, now let me read through dito sa ating problem. So the case is all about Mr. Albert Tejero na isang tax consultant or tax practitioner. Oh, by the way, credit, gusto ko lang ibigay yung credit sa problem kay Sir or kay Professor Win Balyada na isang author ng Basic Financial Accounting and Reporting. So doon ko kinuha yung problem na ito, pinalitan ko lang yung petsa para maging updated yung ating problem. And the problem goes this way. So, si Albert Tejero nag-umpisa ng kanyang tax practice. So, during the month, ito yung mga nag-transpire na transactions from December 1 hanggang December 31. Okay? So, makikita ninyo ito dito sa aking screen. O kung gusto ninyo, i-pause muna ninyo ito para at least, pag pinost nyo siya, pwede nyo itong sagutan muna and then, pag tapos ka na, o play mo na ito para sabay na tayo. Nandito naman sa baba ko yung mga requirement. O sa number 1, meron ditong pre-provide ng mga chart of accounts, ano? Naka-identify dito yung mga account codes ng mga accounts natin. For the sake of those na hindi nakakakilala sa chart of accounts, ito ay isang listahan ng mga accounts na ginagamit ng isang kumpanya. Okay? So, hindi lang ito account title. Let's say cash account, ano? Meron pa yung code, account code. Kasi normally, for a computerized accounting system, may mga reference codes yan. At yun yung ating account code. At yung pinakalistahan na yan, yan yung tinatawag natin na chart of accounts. So, nag-uumpisa yan. Pag mga number 1, 1 series, those are assets. Pag 2 series, liability accounts naman yan. Pag 3 series, equity. Alam nyo na yung kasunod. 4, revenue accounts. 5, expenses accounts. O kung medyo pinaghihiwalay, mga cost of sales or cost of goods sold at saka yung mga operating expenses. O meron niyang 5 series, may 6 series. O minsan, umaabot pa yan ng 7, 8, 9. Okay? Now, ano ang gagawin natin dito sa case na ito? The first one, given this transactions from December 1 hanggang December 31, we have to journalize the entries. Ano ba yung mga journal entries when we have to record these transactions? Pangalawa, once na na-record natin yon, we have to post them to your individual ledger accounts. Kung mano-mano mo itong gagawin, o better na gawin mo ito gamit ang T account. Kung naka-Excel ka naman, o pwede mo nang idiretso, pwede kang gumawa ng ledger account. Now, in my case, ang aking journal entries, nilagyan ko ng additional column, additional field, para i-copy ko yung amounts so that eventually, pag natapos na yung mga transactions, pwede kong i-filter yung specific na account code or account title and lalabas na yung mga transactions affecting this account. In such a way, hindi man ako gagawa ng T account, pero pag finilter ko yan, makikita ko yung balance ng mga ledgers na yan. Okay. After we do the posting, di ba sa accounting cycle natin, ang kasunod niyan, Magpe-prepare tayo ng unadjusted trial balance. O dito, chinecheck natin yung equality ng total debits at saka ng total credits. O after that, kung meron tayong kailangang i-adjust, mga items for adjustment, and usually this happens at month ends or year ends, o kailangan natin i-record yung mga adjusting entries para ma-correct natin, maitama natin yung mga balanse before we prepare the financial statements. Kasi once you prepare your adjusted trial balance, after ninyo ma-consider lahat ng mga adjustments, o pwede ka nang makapag-prepare ng income statement, ng balance sheet, O pero, kailangan mo pa rin mag-perform ng mga closing process, especially kung meron pang mga reversing entries na ginagawa yung company, you have to do the reversals for specific items na applicable yung reversing entries. So yun yung gagawin natin today. Gagawin natin sa problem na ito. Pero isa-isa lang muna. Pag-usapan muna natin ang mga journal entries nitong mga transactions na ito from December 1 hanggang December 31. Now, ito yung ating journal entries. Now, makikita ninyo sa file na ginawa ko, we have the transaction date. Meron tayo ng account code kasi given, di ba? Meron din tayong account title and nakalagay dito yung description. We have the debits and we have the credits at meron ako ditong nilagay na amount na column. At dito naman meron pa akong items, wala lang field, wala lang label, pero related ito mamaya sa ating cash flow. Okay. O ngayon, normally, kung gagawa ka ng manual na journal entry, dapat sinusunod natin yung proper na indention. Kung halimbawa, debit to cash and credit to Tehero Capital, yung credit dapat inuusog natin, For computerized accounting kasi, hindi mo na kailangan lagyan ito ng mga indention. Kailangan mo lang ipasok yung mga information na kailangan, yung account titles, yung account codes, yung amounts, and then they will do. The system, the computer will do the recording for you. Provided na tama yung ginawa mo. Kasi garbage in, garbage out. O dito nakalagay din sa column E yung description, which is normally being done sa ilalim ng credit side kapag gumagawa ka manually ng journal entries. Okay? So, these are your transactions for December 1. Ito. This is your transaction for December 2 para sa payment ng rent. Para naman sa purchase ng supplies on account, this is your journal entry. Okay? For the purchase of office equipment in cash and on account, this is an example of a compound journal entry. This is your journal entry. Sa December 8, eto naman. Sa December 14, yung payment ng salaries, this one. December 20, ito yung ating journal entry. Pagdating sa December 28, ito ang yung journal entry. Ang December 30, this one. And then, your December 31 is this one. Ngayon, ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na hindi ko na kailangan gumawa ng T-account kasi magdagdag lang ako ng isang field para i-filter ko na lang yung specific na account, then voila, lalabas na yung aking ledger balance. And take for instance the amount of cash. I-unfilter ko ito, kukunin ko lang si 110 dahil din yung account code ni cash, lalabas na dito yung aking 93,800 na balanse. Okay? Which is also your balance in your ledger. Okay? Pag ginawa mo yan manually, yan din yung kakalabasan. So, yun yung reason kung bakit hinighlight ko ito at nagkaroon ako dito ng subtotal para hindi ko na kailangan gumawa ng mga T-accounts. But makukuha ko pa rin yung mga balanse na kailangan ko for the posting process. Now, in my worksheet, nilagyan ko din ito ng shortcut para bukod doon sa journal entries na ipinakita ko sa inyo, o at least dito naka-plot na, naka-capture na yung mga transactions na yon. Now, in my case, dito sa worksheet na prepare ko, nilagay ko din dyan yung mga specific transactions. Actually, nakagroup lang siya dito, Kaya meron kang makikita dito na ledger balance. From D hanggang sa M, nandiyan yung mga transactions from December 1 hanggang sa December 31. Pero pag tinotal natin lahat ng yan, makikita mo naka-formula yan from E4 hanggang M4 and likewise dito sa mga sumunod na mga accounts. Ito yung kanilang mga balanse. Now, this is the corresponding balances of your ledger accounts or your T accounts. Kahit gawin mo yan, yung T account mo, yan din ang kakalabasan. Sa ngayon, the first step in making your worksheet is to plot in columns 1 and 2 the unadjusted trial balance. And when we do that, ano bang ginagawa natin? Di ba yung mga balances sa unadjusted trial balance, pinipick up lang natin ito sa inyong ledger balance, sa ledger accounts mo. Pero, kailangan mong i-take note ano yung normal balances nun para maitama mo ang iyong unadjusted trial balance. Like in my case, dito, I have the cash account, wala akong accounts receivable, we have the fees receivable, supplies and office equipment. Plinat ko ito sa debit side because the normal balance of these accounts are on the debit side. And then you also do it for the other accounts. Si accumulated depreciation mo nandito, si accounts payable, salaries payable, capital account nasa credit side. And you do it for the rest of the items and make sure that they are on the proper debit or credit side. Otherwise, pag tinotal mo yan, hindi ka magbabalanse kasi tama nga yung mga amounts na na-pick up mo sa posting sa T accounts pero mali mo naman ito na i-transfer sa iyong trial balance wala din. Magkakamali ka mananakit ang ulo mo kasi hindi mo balanse ang iyong trial balance. But if you get it right, your balance should be 256,000 na total debits and your total credits. Now, what is next? Once we have your unadjusted trial balance, we look on the items for adjustments because of the concept of periodicity, and the accrual basis of accounting. Kailangan nating i-adjust yung mga transactions gamit yung accrual accounting. Kasi by year-end, may mga transactions na maaring ang collection niyan ay sa susunod na taon, ang recognition ng expenses ay sa susunod na taon, pero na-incur mo na yan or na-earn mo na yan for this year, kailangan natin siyang i-record. Otherwise, mali-mali ang iyong mga balance sheet, ang iyong income statement, at basically, your financial statement as a whole. So we have to recognize them. And in the case of Albert Tejero, meron tayo ditong 4 na transactions na kailangang i-adjust. The first one is for the supplies on hand. Now take note that our supplies here unadjusted is 7,200. Dito, ang ating supplies on hand at December 31 amounted to 4,700. Kung meron kang 4,700 na supplies on hand, ibig sabihin, ito yung hindi mo pa nagagamit. Ito yung unused portion. So, kailangan natin i-recognize yung nagamit na or yung nag-expire na. Yung nag-expire na yun yung kailangan natin i-record dito sa adjustment columns. So that your columns 3 and 4 of your columnar is for the adjustments or your adjusting entries. Follow me through while I am reading it. Nandito naman, color-coded pa yung ating adjusting entries. Meron tayong guide dito for the letter para guided tayo asan yun. So, may letra na, may kulay pa, saan ka pa? Okay. Guys, supplies on hand is 2,500, but since that is the asset, what's used is the difference between your 7,200 and your 4,700. And that is 2,500. Kasi 7,2 minus 4,7, you get 2,500. Ano yung ating journal entry? Our journal entry will be a debit kay supplies expense, which is in this part. Ito. Supplies expense, remember? Debit, and then credit kay supplies. So, on the part of the supplies, binabawasan natin yan. On the part of your expense, dinadagdagan naman natin yung ating income statement account. So that is your transaction letter A for the adjusting entry. Now, for letter B, salaries of 1,800 have accrued at month end. Accrued expense ang example nitong letter B, o salaries expense debit and credit to salaries payable. Kaya sa letter B, makikita mo dito, salaries expense 1,800 na debit, and then credit to salaries payable for 1,800. Now, proceed tayo sa letter C. Depreciation daw is 800 for December. Alam natin na pag meron tayong depreciation, we debit depreciation expense and we credit accumulated depreciation instead of the asset account. In this case, yung office equipment yung tinutukoy nito. So, ang ating entry for that is debit depreciation expense for 800 and credit accumulated depreciation for 800. Ganun lang ito kasimple, ano? And by now, dapat naiintindihan nyo na ito. Lalong-lalo na kung yung topic ninyo nandoon na sa closing entries. Nasa completion part na. For letter D, medyo may konting computation. Although, madali lang naman kasi ito. Ang sinasabi dito, si Tijero daw has spent 20 hours on a tax fraud case during December. Pag natapos daw ito sa January, yung work niya will be billed at 500 pesos per hour. So since meron kang 20 hours na na-consume ng December, multiply lang natin ito with 500 peso, we will get 10,000 pesos. Now, meron ditong note na sinasabi, gagamitin daw yung account na fees receivable for the unbilled revenues. Okay, kaya dito makikita ninyo, we debit fees receivable and credit consulting revenues. Kasi kinita mo na yan, hindi mo pa nga lang nabibill. Okay, so after that, wala nang ibang transaction, we do the summarizing. Pag sama-samahin natin yan, i-add natin, dapat ang kakalabasan ng amounts sa dulo for the total debits and the total credits will be 15,100. Pag hindi yan balanse, baka nagkaroon ka ng mali. Baka may naidoble ka na debit or may naidoble ka na credit or naipasok mo yung debit or credit side pero yung kabangga, hindi. So kung sakaling mali ka man dyan, you have to revisit it. Dito naman makikita ninyo yung ating entries for the adjustments. Si A, B, C, and D. For adjusting entry letter A, ito yung applicable na journal entry mo. Yung adjusting entry letter B, ito naman yon. Adjusting entry letter C, this one. And adjusting entry letter D is this one. Now, what do we do after the adjusting entries have been posted in your worksheet? Ang gagawin natin, magpe-prepare tayo ng adjusted trial balance. So, how do we do that? Simple lang. I-add natin itong unadjusted trial balance for the corresponding accounts and then plus-minus natin yung debit-credit side ng adjustments. So, kung ito ay assets, drawing account, expenses, debit ng unadjusted trial balance plus debit of your adjusting entry column minus credit of your adjusting entry column, you will get your adjusted trial balance. And you do it for the other normal balance ay debit. Pagdating naman sa liability, sa equity, sa revenue accounts, credit ka naman. Credit plus credit minus debit. So, kailangan mo lang sundan yung flow. Kung ano yung normal balance, i-add mo yung kasama ng normal balance. I-minus mo yung kasalungat nito. So, debit plus debit minus credit. Credit plus credit minus debit. Kung saan man applicable yon, doon mo siya gawin. And after that, dapat ang kakalabasan mo na balanse ay 268,600. Total debits and total credits. Now that you are done with your adjusted trial balance, which is your columns 5 and 6 ng iyong columnar, pwede mo nang magawa yung income statement, pwede mo na rin magawa yung balance sheet. How do we do that? Sa worksheet mo, madali lang yan. Kung meron kang tamang adjusted trial balance, kokopyahin mo lang yung income and expense accounts, para sa column 7 and 8 for your income statement accounts. Kagaya nito, makikita mo yung consulting revenue mo at saka yung mga various expenses mo, kinapi lang natin dito sa column 7 and 8. And after that, meron ka ng income statement. Pagdating naman sa columns 9 and 10, ikakopy lang natin yung mga balance sheet items. So basically, i-reflect lang natin ito. Copy mo yan, paste mo yan dito, or isulatin mo yan dito sa 9 and 10 columns. You will get your balance sheet. Yun nga lang, when we are doing the worksheet for the income statement and balance sheet accounts, pag tinotal mo yan sa baba, hindi yan magbabalanse. Like in this case ni Albert Tijero, ang total credit niya ay 78,000 pero ang total debit niya ay 25,100. O pag hindi yan balanse, huwag kang matatakot kasi normal yan na hindi yan magbabalance. Kasi the difference will represent your net profit or net loss. Okay, o kagaya dito, debit mo 25,100, mas maliit siya kay 78,000 na credit. Now, this represents your net profit. Pag mas malaki yung credit over the debit sa income statement na columns ng worksheet, you will generate a net profit. Ang effect naman yan sa iyong balance sheet ay ganito. Kasi reciprocal yan eh. Whatever is the difference in the income statement will be your difference in the balance sheet columns. Like in this case, your total debit is 243,500, samantalang your total credit is 190,600. Pag kinuha mo yung difference niyan, that is 52,900. Oh, seems familiar? Yes, because that is also the difference in your income statement columns na number 7 and number 8. Sa ngayon, ganito ang gagawin natin. Kung saan mas maliit yung balanse, mapa-debit side man yan o credit, doon mo ilagay sa baba niya yung amount. Like in this case, sa income statement, mas maliit yung 25,100 over the 78,000, dyan ko ilagay si 52,900. And ganoon din kay balance sheet, dahil mas maliit si 190,600 over 243,500. O dyan ko ilagay si 52,900. Para sa gayon, pag tinotal ko ulit ito, ang kakalabasan ko ng mga totals dito sa baba after this net profit or loss will be the same. Balanse na sila. Pag nilagay mo kasi yan sa kabila, mas lalong lalaki yung discrepancy. So, hindi sila balanse. Be careful, kasi normally, minumultiple choice yan at ginagawang narrative form. So, dapat alam mo kung ano yung movement sa worksheet at ano yung ibig nitong sabihin para pag ginawang multiple choice yung problem, kaya mo itong sagutan. Net profit mo is 52,900. Pag ginawa mo yan, tapos ka na sa 10 columnar. Okay, but wait. Anong gagawin natin dito sa net profit? Bakit siya nandito sa balance sheet nasa credit side? This time, it would be best to discuss the relationship of your income statement and your balance sheet account. And that relationship is being presented through the statement of changes in equity. Remember, sa statement of changes in equity, you have the beginning balance of your capital account. Kung meron kang additional investments, madadagdag yan. Kung meron kang temporary withdrawals, binabawas natin yan. At kung meron kang net profit or loss, ina-add or minus natin yan para makuha natin yung ending capital balance na magiging balanse ng equity sa iyong balance sheet. Okay? So, yun yung relationship. So, ibig sabihin, etong net profit, i-close natin ito sa equity account, kaya ito nasa credit side. And this is also reflective of your closing process. Kapag nasa dulo na tayo ng taon, kailangan na nating isarado yung libro, lahat ng iyong income statements ay i-close natin. Now, when we are talking of the closing process, 4 yung steps natin dyan na sinusunod. The first one is we have to close the income accounts or the revenue accounts to your income summary accounts. Paano natin yan ginagawa? Kung ang normal balance ng revenue account mo ay credit, dinidebit natin yan. Debit the income accounts, credit the income summary accounts. That is your step 1. Now, what is the step 2? The step 2 is to close your expenses accounts papunta sa iyong income summary account. O paano naman natin ito ginagawa? Kung meron kang normal balances na debit itong mga expenses mo, pag i-close natin ito, kinikredit lang natin sila. At yung debit naman natin is your income summary account. O after your step 1 and step 2, pag gumawa ka ng ledger ni income summary or gumawa ka ng T account ni income summary, meron kang credit side, meron kang debit side. Ang credit mo sa income summary is your income accounts, is your revenue account. Yung nasa left side, nasa debit side, represents naman your expenses account. So, after step 1 and step 2, what you will have to do is to get the difference. Debit minus credit or credit minus debit. O, diba, pag gumagawa tayo ng T account, kung saan yung mas malaki nandoon sa baba, yung balanse. Dino-double rule pa natin ito. Now, for the case of income summary, temporary lang yan kasi ginagamit natin yung income summary account for closing entries. Whatever will be the difference, kailangan natin itong i-transfer sa kabilang side na mas maliit kasi we will have to make your income summary account 0. O para i-0 yan, kung credit yung mas malaki, i-debit mo. And for step 3, dinidebit or credit natin yung income summary account, depende kung net profit or net loss. And then, dinidebit or credit natin ang iyong capital account. O after step 3, na zero out mo na ang iyong income statement, na zero out mo na ang iyong income summary, na i-transfer na natin yung net profit or loss mo sa iyong capital account. Now, yung step 4 is applicable kung meron kang withdrawal account. Pero kung wala kang withdrawal account, no need to do step 4 kasi wala ka namang gagawin. Ang step 4 kasi natin is to close the withdrawal account or the drawing account papunta sa iyong capital account. Kasi normally, yung withdrawal account is temporary in nature. At the end of the year, zero out din natin yan, kinu-close din natin yan, para pag umpisa ng susunod na taon, o kung may panibagong mga withdrawals, that is for that specific period. Okay? So that is your step 4. Debit capital account and credit withdrawal account. Those are your closing entries. In our case here, kung ito yung ating mga income statement accounts, yung 78,000 mo, sa closing entry, dinidebit natin yan. At yung mga expenses accounts mo naman, kinikredit natin yan. Dito yan papasok sa iyong columns 11 and columns 12 na naka-reserve para sa iyong closing entries. Makikita mo, dinebit natin yung consulting revenues, credit natin income summary. Then, credit natin yung ating mga expenses accounts, etong nakakulay at yung highlight ko, ang kabangga niyan na debit ay yung income summary. Dito nga lang, naka 78,000 yan kasi, di ba nga ang step 3 kailangang i-0. 25,100 kasi yan, pag tinanggal ko dito sa formula yung difference, etong 25,100, makikita mo dito sa kanan, ang diferensya nila ay 52,900. That is your step 3. Kaya, ang step 3 ko, nag-debit ako ng 52,900. Ang ka-credit ko nito ay si Tijero Capital for 52,900. Kaya dito, after step 2 and step 3, 78 na rin yung income summary. Na-offset na, wala nang balanse yung income summary account mo. Step 4, this one na. Withdrawal account, credit natin, and then itinebit natin si capital account. Now, pertaining doon sa ating closing entries, na ipinakita ko sa inyo sa worksheet, ito naman yung corresponding journal entries nila. Meron tayong step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. This is your step 1. Debit sa consulting revenue and credit kay income summary for 78,000. Tapos, ang step 2 mo naman, na multiple na expenses accounts, debit ka sa income summary and then credit ka sa various expenses account for 25,100. Pagdating sa step 3, 78 minus 25,000, you will get 52,900 and that is your step 3. debit income summary, credit Tihero Capital kasi mas malaki ang credit nito, so balansehin natin yung debit side. And lastly, for the fourth step para sa withdrawal closing, this is your journal entry. Tihero Capital and credit kay Tihero Withdrawals. Okay? Now, observe ang balance mo sa balance sheet ng Tejero Capital before your closing entries is your unadjusted balance na 150. Nagkaroon ako ng border dito. Lagyan ko ng border, 150. Then, i-minus natin itong 12,000. I-add natin itong 52,900. Pagdating dito sa post-closing, yung 190,900 na nakakulay pula, that is your ending capital balance. At yung naka-border na yan, that is the content of your statement of changes in equity. Okay, now, dahil nabanggit ko yung post-closing trial balance, yan yung pang 13 and pang 14th na columns ng iyong 14 columnar worksheet. Okay? Dito, sa post-closing trial balance, pinapakita lang natin yung mga real accounts. Wala na itong temporary accounts. Again, pag sinabi nating real accounts, these are your permanent accounts or your balance sheet accounts. Samantalang ang temporary accounts represent your income statement accounts o ang tawag din natin dyan ay nominal accounts. Temporary, nominal accounts, income statement accounts. So that's how we do the worksheet, a 14-columnar worksheet. Now, napansin ninyo although requirement sa problem na gumawa ng balance sheet, ng income statement, ng statement of changes in equity at saka ng cash flow, hindi ako gumawa ng proper presentation. Kundi, ipinakita ko sa inyo kung paano ito kukunin galing sa worksheet. Now, for the statement of cash flow, ipapakita ko lang din sa inyo kung paano kayo makakapag-prepare nito gamit yung mga journal entries na ginawa ninyo. Now, in this file, in this journal entries na tab, kailangan ko lang i-filter yung cash. Remember that your statement of cash flow is merely the movement of your cash from the beginning of the period to the end of the period. Pag finilter natin dito, ang iyong cash account, lalabas dito lahat ng mga transactions na may kinalaman si cash. Either pumasok yung pera or lumabas ang pera. Kaya dito sa debit side mo, ito yung inflow of cash. Sa credit side naman, ito yung outflow of cash. When preparing your statement of cash flow, naka-organize ito into 3. The operating activities, the investing activities, and the financing activities. So dito, to aid you in preparing the statement of cash flow, we have to determine kung ano-ano ba itong mga ito. At dito nyo makikita yung sinulat ko sa bandang dulo. Ang initial investment by the owner, that is classified as activities related sa financing. Ang payment of rent, that is an operating activity. The purchase of office equipment, that is an investing activity kasi your office equipment is a long-term asset. Payment of supplies on account, or operating yan. The same with your payment of salaries and then the collection of your revenue. Ang last item dito, the personal withdrawal, that is a financing activity. So, all you have to do is to group them according to their type of activity and then you will get the total of them. I-add natin sa beginning balance kung meron man. And we have your ending balance of your cash account. Ganyan natin pinipresenta ang statement of cash flow. Now, in the problem, yung isa pa sa kailangan gawin is the reversing entries. Ito yung kailangan ninyong tandaan kapag ang pinag-uusapan natin, reversing entries. Kasi ang reversing entries, unang-una sa lahat, optional lang yan. Hindi yan required, hindi yan mandatory. It is up to the discretion of the management kung gagawa sila ng reversing entries. Ginagawa ito para lang masimplify yung recording, yung bookkeeping. Minsan kasi may mga paulit-ulit na transactions na pare-parehas lang yung amount, kaso because of the accrual basis of accounting, kailangan mo mag-accrue. By the beginning of the year, nire-reverse lang ito para pag in-entryhan yung susunod, ganun lang din ulit. Okay? Hindi na kailangan computin yung difference. I-reverse ko na lang yung entry na ginawa ko sa adjusting entry para sa susunod, back to the usual na journal entries. However, not all adjusting entries can be closed. Ang pwede lang nating i-close ay ang mga accruals and then your deferrals na under your expense or income method. Okay? O ano yung journal entry natin dyan? At sino-sino yung applicable? Ang applicable dyan, pag tinignan natin yung ating adjustments, no? Meron tayong 4, di ba? Ang A mo pertains to your supplies na nag-debit tayo ng supplies expense at nag-credit tayo ng supplies. O hindi ito pwede because this is a prepaid expense using asset method. So skipan natin yung adjusting entry na yan. Proceed tayo sa letter B. Dito sa worksheet makikita mo mababasa mo na ang debit niya salaries expense, credit niya salaries payable. O this is an accrual and pwede natin yang i-reverse. At para i-reverse yan, tinidebit lang natin yung salaries payable and kinikredit natin yung salaries expense. So basically, it's the exact opposite of your adjusting entry. Now, sa letter C, sa depreciation, hindi yan pwedeng gawin, hindi pwedeng i-reverse. But then, for letter D, because this is an accrued revenue, debit ka di ba fees receivable and then credit ka ng consulting revenue? O para i-reverse natin yan, we have to debit the consulting revenue and we have to credit the fees receivable. O now, ipakita ko lang sa inyo yung proper na journal entry natin for the reversals. Ito, meron lang tayong dalawang journal entry. O pansinin mo na yung transaction date January 1 kasi ang reversing entries ginagawa sa umpisa ng taon. Hindi ito December 31. Adjusting entries ginagawa natin December 31 pero yung reversing entries ginagawa natin the following day. Pagpalit ng taon. Kaya nga nire-reverse lang natin. Kaya dito, January 1 siya, debit salaries payable and credit salaries expense to 1,800. Tapos yung consulting revenue mo at saka debit to fees receivable for 10,000 pesos. O ngayon, pag ginawa itong narrative form, pag nagkaroon ng mga multiple choice questions, baka tanungin kayo, what happens when there is a credit balance of your expense account at the beginning of the year? O letter A, there is a reversal that was done. O letter B, ganito, ganyan. Letter C, blah, blah, blah. And letter D, there was an error. O ang sagot dyan, nagkaroon ka ng reversing entry, kaya ka nagkaroon ng credit balance ng expense account at the beginning of the year. Okay? So, ganyan po natin ginagawa ang reversing entries. In our case, hindi ko na ipapakita sa inyo, hindi ko na ipipresenta yung proper format ng balance sheet, income statement, statement of changes in equity, at saka ang iyong statement of cash flow. Pero dito sa worksheet, malalaman mo kung saan mo ito kukunin because you have this income statement. You have this balance sheet. Pero sa balance sheet, better kung ang kunin mo ay yung post-closing trial balance kasi eto na yung tama. Yung statement of changes in equity, etong hin-highlight ko, no? Na merong border. Okay, so I hope medyo nasundan nyo ito, no? Marami kasing information. Pero pag nagawa mo ito ng tama, on your own, without the help, without the aid of your classmates, of your friends, or your higher accounting student friends, no? That's good of you. Ibig sabihin, nakukuha mo ng mabuti yung konsepto, and that is the key in understanding basic accounting, especially the accounting cycle. So hanggang sa muli, maraming salamat and bye-bye.